What's for dinner? Hey everyone, I'm Chef Z and welcome back to my channel, Chef Z Cooks. Today I'm going to be showing you how to make some chicken empanadas. And guess what? I'm going to be showing you how to make it 2 different ways because you guys know I love showing you a variety of different things. So fun fact, we will be making chicken empanadas, but we're also going to be making chicken pastelitos. Now comment down below and let me know, are you more of an empanada type of person or pastelito type of person? Me, I am partial to pastelitos because that's what I grew up eating. That's how my grandmother used to make them. And by the way, for the sake of today's videos, the pastelitos are the round one, which actually take 2 layers of dough. Whereas the empanadas, which is what my fiance actually prefers, are the half moon ones. And they're the ones that you typically find all the time in restaurants. Like always, stay tuned until the very end of the video where I like to share some tips and tricks just to help you guys nail these recipes perfectly each and every single time. Let's go ahead and get started. I love making chicken empanadas and pastelitos for get-togethers and the holidays. We're going to start off by seasoning the chicken with some fresh onions, some green and red peppers, some mashed up garlic, which is going to release its wonderful flavor. We're also going to add some Dominican Orégano, a touch of cumin, some Sazón, Light Sodium Soy Sauce, and we're also going to add some kosher salt and some fresh black pepper. Keep in mind that you can definitely use adobo or your favorite seasoning salt if that's what you have on hand. We're also going to add some olive oil to help bring this marinade together. And of course, we can't forget the fresh limes. Now what we're doing here is pretty much seasoning some chicken breast to make pechuga guisada, which is a version of Pollo Guisado. And you guys know I have a couple of recipes here on my channel that definitely goes into more depth. So go ahead and check those videos out if you haven't already done so. We're going to mix everything until it's well combined, and you want to let it marinate for at least 20 minutes or even overnight. We're now going to set our flame about medium-high, and we're also going to add some olive oil. And once that olive oil gets nice and hot, we're going to add the chicken, and we want to make sure that it browns evenly on all sides. Now keep in mind that when making the filling for the empanadas, you definitely want to cut the chicken into about medium-sized pieces. If you cut it too small, the chicken will dry out. And if you cut it too big, then you run the risk of the chicken not fitting into your empanadas. We're going to mix everything because like I mentioned before, we want to make sure that it browns evenly on all sides. And once it's browned, we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some water along with any leftover marinade because now we're going to stew the chicken and it's going to build flavor and get super juicy. So once the sauce begins to bubble, we want to go ahead and add some tomato paste and just work that into the sauce, and the sauce will actually begin to thicken as it cooks. Now once the sauce has thickened just a little bit, we want to go ahead and add some olives, which is totally optional, but if you're no stranger here on my channel, then you know I love olives. Do keep an eye on the chicken because the sauce will thicken considerably. And we don't want it to dry out because that sauce is actually going to play a major role in our filling. So once the sauce has thickened up, we want to go ahead and take the chicken out because we're now going to start shredding the chicken to make the filling for our chicken empanadas. Now there's a few ways that you can actually shred the chicken. I personally like to shred the chicken using 2 forks, but you can definitely use tongs or you could even use your hand. The hardest part about shredding the chicken is actually resisting the urge of not eating it all because it is so tasty. And if you make this filling ahead of time, it will actually taste even better because those flavors have really had a chance to settle and develop. In fact, that's honestly what I do most of the time. So once we've shredded all of our chicken, we actually want to go ahead and very gently toss it back into the sauce. And now that the sauce has cooled, you can see that it has thickened considerably. And you want the sauce to be fairly thick because if it's too runny, then you run the risk of it oozing out whenever you're making the empanadas. And that's something that you definitely don't want. because it's only going to be messy. So once you've coated all of the shredded chicken in that sauce, we're gonna go ahead and start making our yummy empanadas. So first things first, you want to take some all-purpose flour and you want to very gently just put it all over your work surface, and we're now going to roll out our empanada disc. Now keep in mind that this is something completely optional. I just like to roll it out a little bit on the thinner side because I love an empanada that's really nice, light, and airy. And if you want to learn how to make your own empanada disc and your empanada dough from scratch, go ahead and check out my video where I walk you through on how to make empanada dough 2 different ways. Now, when making some chicken empanadas, you want to be fairly generous with your filling. And just to make sure that it's going to seal and not open up when you're frying them, I like to take some water and just put it along the edge, and then I like to fold the dough over, press down pretty hard, releasing any possible air bubbles as I'm doing it. And then I take a fork and I press it down, and you get those classic empanada marks. Now you can definitely stop right here, but because I'm a perfectionist, I like to go in with a pizza cutter and just perfectly round out the edges to get that perfect half moon shape. Keep in mind that this is totally optional and not something that you have to do. Again, I just like to do it because I like to make sure that all my empanadas look nice and uniform. Now, you can also make some chicken pastelitos, and this is how my grandmother used to actually make it. And all it is that you're taking one piece of dough, you're rolling it out, again optional, but I do like it a little bit thinner. And once you've rolled out the 2 pieces of dough, we're actually going to take a healthy serving of the filling and we're going to place it in the center. And just like before, we want to make sure to seal those edges just by adding some water. And this is not something that you have to do. I just like to do it just to make sure that it's definitely going to seal. Then we're going to take that second piece of the empanada dough and we're going to place it over top, being sure to release any possible air bubbles. And then we're also going to take the fork and we're going to create those indentations like we did earlier. Now, as I mentioned earlier, just with the half moon empanadas, you can definitely stop right here, and this will definitely make for a yummy pastelito. But because your girl is a perfectionist, I like to go in with a cookie cutter that's about 3 to 3.5 inches in diameter, and I like to cut out the excess dough so that I get a perfect circle and all my pastelitos are the same size. Now, you can make bigger pastelitos the same way you can make bigger empanadas. It's totally up to you. We're now going to set our flame to medium high and we're going to fry up our pastelitos and empanadas, and you want to make sure that the oil is nice and hot just so that the pastelitos don't get too oily. Afterwards, you want to go in and you want to flip them over because all we're doing is frying them until they're golden brown. Now, you may have an empanada that's a little stubborn like I have here, so you may have to manually hold it down, which is totally fine. It's just part of the process. So once those pastelitos are perfectly fried, we're going to take them out and we're going to drain the excess oil onto a paper towel. So there you guys have it, my recipe for some chicken empanadas. If you have any questions, comment down below. And until next week, I'm Chef Z y buen provecho. Alright guys, here's some quick tips and tricks to help you get these chicken empanadas perfect each and every single time. For my first tip, make sure that you don't make your chicken filling too runny, either by adding too much tomato sauce, tomato paste, or even oil. Now, if you make your filling too runny, you actually run the risk of it oozing out when you're cooking it, and honestly, it makes a huge mess, and that's something that you definitely don't want. For my second tip, feel free to make your filling ahead of time, no more than 2 or 3 days. Now, the benefit of actually making your filling ahead of time is that it tastes so much better because those flavors have had a chance to settle. And you can also use some leftover pollo guisado and just use the boneless bits and pieces. And again, it tastes amazing. For my third tip, feel free to roll out the dough as thick or as thin as you like it. Now, I am going to sound like a broken record because this is something I'm going to say in all of my empanadas and pastelito video. I personally like to roll out my dough a little bit thinner than what you normally see, and that's because I love a pastelito that's nice, light, and airy, because honestly, I get to eat a ton of it. When you roll out the dough a little bit thicker, it takes a little bit longer to cook, which isn't a problem, and number two, I personally get full after my second empanada. Between me and you, I like to have more than 2 empanadas. Now, for my fourth and final tip, you can also make your empanadas as big or as small as you like it. I am known for making little mini empanadas, so whenever you go to a party and you have a mini empanada, you know that Z made it. Now, I go into so much more detail as to the different ways that you can make the disc and roll it out and cut it yourself in my empanada dough video, so go ahead and check it out if you haven't already. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video. Be sure to join the Chef Z family and click that bell so that you're notified each and every single time I post an all new video. And if you need some inspiration as to what to cook next, go ahead and click right here.